John, I think you can go ahead and start the recording. We do have Stowe TV on today on the call, so they're going to be recording our meeting today. And so it is 7:01. We'll bring this meeting to order. The October 7th meeting of the Lake Boon Commission being held by Zoom meeting. So let me quickly run through our agenda.
Before you do that, Chris, do we need to make a decision about whether to proceed with the meeting? I see actually a lot of people are signing on. I'm just wondering if, because some people might not because of power failure, although I see 12 people here, so maybe we're okay, but I just wondered if we needed to decide about that.
We're good, guys.
Yeah, I don't think
We're
so.
good.
So Dan.
What's that?
I
Hello?
believe we are fine to move forward.
Okay.
We have a quorum of our LBC, and that's the critical thing for this meeting.
Okay.
We will move forward. Okay, so John, it is recording now? Yes, I can see that it is. All righty, so quickly on our agenda. We are gonna have some time for public comment at the beginning. We'll talk remind folks an announcement around our MVP grant from the Lake Boon Association and the commission here. Dan, I think we have, I'm not sure we have, but if we do have some meeting minutes, we'll talk through those. We have a number of bills for payment. A key thing that we're going to be talking about today is the drawdown activities and some discussion and questions even for the public as it relates to as we go forward with our drawdowns and where we are on our drawdown status. So we have some things to discuss as a commission around some feedback that we received from Concom. So we'll spend a little bit of time as a commission talking through that. And then we want to address kind of the timing and logistics for taking the buoys out, getting the boat out of the water and storage. Just a quick update amongst ourselves around what's happening with the amended Hudson FY21 LBC budget. I'll give an update on that, and then any old business we have, any new business we have, and setting a date for our next meeting. So that is our agenda for today. So what I want to do is I want to start with public comment, but what I am asking is if it has anything to do with the drawdown, hold, because we're going to talk about the drawdown a little bit later on the agenda. If you have anything else you would like to bring up to the commission, then now would be a good time. Do we have anyone that has anything, any questions, any requests for a future topic on a meeting? Okay, I think that's it. No, so again, we will open up for public comment specifically on drawdown a little further in the agenda. All right, so Dan, I think you're the right person to just to let because I suspect most of the people know, but I think it's really exciting news. So announce what's going on with the grant.
Yes, we have now confirmed from the state that we received a grant of $154,000 for the Municipal Vulnerability Program. And as you may know, the purpose of this is to monitor the health of Lake Boon on a comprehensive integrated basis. It's a 2-year grant. It will begin as soon as we have signed paperwork from the state and the town of Stowe, who's the actual fiscal agent. But we expect it to start, within a couple of weeks. We will begin with a series of public meetings in Stowe and in Hudson, making sure that we're getting input and so on. But essentially, we're going to do
public input.
a town-wide, excuse me, lake-wide measurements of at least a dozen different criteria. This enables us to purchase some equipment, to set up a volunteer program, and some of the people in the meeting today have already volunteered to be part of this, so thank you for doing that. We will then do an analysis of the data. Well, actually, we have to understand that the actual measurements begin next year after in the spring. We're setting things up. We're putting into place a contract with a company to be determined who will handle that. They'll have the hydrological analysis expertise and the modeling, but we have a very well-defined set of metrics. Then after a year's worth of measuring, we'll analyze the data and see what it reveals about the integrated flow of water, of nutrients, why are we getting eutrophication, and so on, then leading to a set of recommendations. The grant does not pay for implementation of any changes, but it enables us to do it on an informed basis. The status of that is that we did receive the formal notification from the state. I met with Kathy Sfera and with the new town administrator. We are awaiting the next stage of, and they signed the paperwork back to the state. Now we're waiting some more paperwork back from the state to us. But Stowe's the fiscal agent. It's a collaboration and will involve Lake Boon Association in the lead of actually implementing this
coming up as
rather
Patty.
than LBC per se. Why don't I just stop there and see if Chris or Conray or if you want to open it up for discussion.
No, I think we just wanted to make sure.
Conray, I'm having trouble with my internet connection.
Okay. Conway, we'll check in with you from point to point here. So Dan, I would say that that's great. And again, very exciting. A lot of work done by a lot of folks, and literally couldn't have been done without a lot of input and a lot of legwork and thought and whatever. And the LBA is really, a huge partner in this and a kind of the driver, I think, at this point, kind of moving us forward. So thank you to all who participated in getting it to this point, and we're very excited. All right. So what I'm going to do, Conray, is as we go from one topic to another, I'm just going to check in with you to see if you're able to hear us. So we are going to move on to the topic on meeting minutes. Conray, are you still on with us?
I think so. The
Okay. Yep.
Zoom is telling me my internet's unreliable. I'm getting internet off my cell phone. So.
Yep. Okay, you're on right now. So Dan, do we have some minutes? Because
Yeah, I'm going to suggest actually that we defer until the next meeting on the minutes. But I'll tell you that in looking at this, we did in fact do there were two meetings, August 19th and August 27th.
correct.
August 27th, I've already distributed, and this was probably weeks ago, the minutes from that. But the August 19th, I'm looking, and I think for some reason I missed doing those minutes.
Okay.
Given the fact that it probably was, too long ago for you to have any thoughts on editing those, I'm going to suggest that we defer on those minutes, that I do the one that the August 19th that was missing, and then in our next meeting, we review them when you've had a chance to really have them in front of you.
Okay, that works for me. So that's the August 19th and the August 27th. And then at our next meeting, hopefully we would also have the minutes from today.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So bills, we have a number of bills. So let me kind of go through here and maybe we'll just take these. Let's see, take them in kind of groups here because I think there are a couple. All right, so adding, we have 3 that are for reimbursement to you, Dan, right?
Yes.
So one in the amount of $65 for the Stowe Independent related to the public announcement of the drawdown permit.
Yep.
And then the same for the Hudson Sun in the amount of $56.45 for the
Yep.
announcement in that paper. And then postage for the package. So that is for $7.50.
Yes.
To get the thing to the DE. All right. Is that all that we have from you, Dan?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, does one of you want to make a motion, since we decided I don't make motions?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we reimburse Dan for the expenses as described.
I second.
Okay, can we just enumerate those?
Yes, there's the Stowe Independent for $65.
Yes.
There's the Hudson Sun for $56.45 and the Postal Service for $7.50.
Excellent. So if those will go into the motion that we have that noted. So any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Chris, aye.
Conrad,
Aye.
aye.
And Dan, I heard. Okay, so that is passed, and I will submit those for reimbursement in the next few days.
And I
Okay,
think we have now established a process where you're authorized to sign off and you can submit, and we don't have to run them around the lake.
correct. So
Okay.
I have made that arrangements. They have copy
Thank you for
of
doing
our
that.
authorization from our meeting, and we're all good. They're happy to work with us that way.
Yep. Great.
Okay, so, okay, then we have reimbursement for me, and that is in the amount of $701.10, and that is for payment of the registration of mail for all of the abutters in Stowe and in Hudson for our public hearing that was done at Concoms, I should say, in both towns. So, do we have any?
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we approve the Chris's expenditure 70110 for postage and reimbursement.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Chris, aye. All right. We are unanimous. And I kid you not when I say that I have like a 30-foot register receipt for this. So, because the way they did, and of course I did not make a copy of 30 feet of registration, but okay. And then another one that I have is for Solitude Lake Management. This is our September invoice. So we're on a regular schedule with them. This is in the amount of $2,343.75. And as I said, that is our contracted payment for September.
Chris, was that part of the service thing? You said you called Solitude and got that bill? And I never saw one to me.
So they said they did, but who knows? So I called because we expect one in September, and you hadn't gotten one. So I called today in order to see what we have. So I sent a scan.
Okay, I might have gotten one. Because when you forward the bill, the first thing in the bill, it says service. It doesn't say it's a bill. It says it's notification of services. We get those all the time, but they never have bills attached to them.
Yeah, this is an invoice. So it's got the regular invoice, remit payment to all of that.
Good. I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere lost in my mail, but I never saw it.
It can happen. So that's not an issue. The good thing is that we are on a regular schedule with them. So from our calendar, I knew we should have gotten one, and so we do have it now. So that's fine.
What's
So,
the breakdown, Stowe and Hudson?
excuse me?
Do you have the breakdown for each town?
I do not have the breakdown for each town. That I did not do. Hang on, I can do that.
All my solar calculators don't work on flashlights.
That doesn't seem right. Hang on, I didn't do that right, clearly. 2, 4. Okay, so that would be $781.25 for Hudson. Let me make a note of that. 125, and $1,562.50 for Stowe.
Okay, I
What
didn't
was
get
that
to write the
breakdown again?
Hudson one.
Sorry, say that again, Conway.
What was the Hudson one again? I didn't get to write it down
Hudson
fast
is
enough.
$781.25.
And Stowe is the difference.
Stowe is $1,562.50.
I move that we approve payment of the Solitude bill,
And the total of $2,000.
$343.75 divided Hudson, $781.25, and Stowe, $1,562.50.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
Chris,
All
do
in
you know,
favor? Oh,
Aye.
what's it? Oh, aye. Conway, aye. All right.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other bills, Conway?
I've got a small one for gasoline, but since we lost power, I was going to do it at the last minute and didn't get it done, but it's not a lot of money. I'll do it next meeting.
Okay, that's fine.
And we're going to talk about the vote later on, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And Dan, you don't have any others for payment?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So that's that. All right. So now we are on our sort of general discussion about the 2020 drawdown activities, and you kind of opportunity to talk through a little bit on that. I want to just sort of separate that from the next item, which is the drawdown for our new drawdown, which would not be in effect for this current one. It will go into effect later in the fall. So, okay. So on the 2020 drawdown activities, we did send out some information. We set the date of October the 19th, on or about October the 19th, depending on weather and other things, for the first board to be removed to begin that drawdown. Again, as a reminder, what we are kind of required to do is make every effort to have that drawdown completed by December 1st. So you know, getting too far into November sometimes it is, you know, would be risky in hitting that 1st of December. And you know, other than that, you know, we that's kind of where we stand with that. So right now, that is our target date. And I think, Dan, you wanted to kind of get some more feedback as we look forward as around setting timelines, whether the critical thing is just getting folks knowing in advance within a certain amount of notice when the timing is, or if there was some other critical things that were kind of coming into play around this. So I'll let you go forward with that a little bit, Dan.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And I'm so glad there's so many people on because we really want to get input on this. Historically, there always is some sort of, there are different points of view. One is let's do it early, beginning of October, in order to enable the drawn down water, to provide better access to retaining walls and docks for any work that needs to be done. Others prefer later, towards the end of October, maybe even into November, in order to enjoy this beautiful fall weather, go out in your boats and not have to remove your boats. In any case, everyone has said that it's important to know well in advance so that you can plan if you have to take your boat out or whatever you need to do. So I would like to say October 19th is the date for this year. Last year we set it the 9th and we got pushed back and delayed it a bit. But I think really what we want to do is whatever is the right compromise to make sure we get that input. I think, I'll take personally responsibility for this. We did notify everybody with 2 weeks advance notice. However, we really should have notified people well in advance. And in fact, I would prefer to have a standard date, October 15th, November 1st, whatever the date is, so that we all know the actual regulations, order conditions say after October 1st and before December 1st. It typically takes 30 days. So we're right sort of in the middle of that, but I know we have gotten some pushback on it this year. And so I apologize for any problems that it had for people not knowing or whatever it was. But there really, it turns out there are three, that we'll get to the notice of intent, but there really are three factors that affect the drawdown. One is the residents, and that we hope to get input tonight to see if is there a consensus around the optimal date. The second is the environment, the critters, as Conrad likes to say, who need to have some time, and that to if they need, the water's going down, they need to, beavers or whatever it is, need to move around because the water's going down. The only real guideline on that is that the slower the better, that 30 days, rather than pull all the boards, it's best right away. It's best to have one board, let it go down, then pull the other board. And so that gives about 30 days, which is kind of the best we can do for that, for the critters part. The third part is the legal. And here we discussed this in the Stowe Conservation Commission meeting last night, that in fact there is controversy. I mean, our legal document says October 1, December 1. There's another state document that says that it should be November 1. And so I think the purpose of this meeting is to focus on the residents' preference and get input and see if we can have a consensus on whatever date. And I think really that's gonna set what it'll be for the future, although we've already set it for this year.
So if folks want to speak, if you would use the hand raise on your thing, it will avoid getting too many people talking at once.
Well, I don't know how to do the hand raise the other way, but I can do it this way.
Okay. Well, hang on a second, because David's got his up, so let's let him go. So David?
Hi, David Sawarski. A lot of it really has to do with the weather, with how people are going to react to this. Again, if you have nice weather, people are going to want to be out in the boats, and they're going to want to extend the time a little bit. If it turns real nasty, you're going to want to do it quicker, or people won't mind if you do it quicker. But so to have that one specific date, like you say, that's a goal, but can we have that flexible per, if a week or so on either side of it?
I mean, we certainly can. Let's get a consensus of what our preference is, but having that flexibility a week before or a week after, I think is consistent with what we've heard elsewhere.
Okay, Conrad?
Yeah, I kind of agree with David. We traditionally tried to do it on October 1st. And that was kind of a result of when we actually got drawdown approved the first time. The there was a great pushback around the wildlife on the lake, et cetera. And seemed like it was colder then too. So we wanted to get drawdown done before the lake froze or the ground froze. But I actually don't care when drawdown starts. What I care about is knowing when it starts. So, October 15th is a nice, sounds like a good compromise to me. And then we just play it by a little bit by ear, depending on the weather, like David said.
Other folks, any other input, different input? Lori,
This is
looks
Dave
like-
Gray.
Hang on one second. So I see Lori Hawks, so let's go there.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
I think I like Dave's idea about, being flexible depending on the weather conditions. But if all possible, I think we should probably do it after Columbus Day weekend, just because, it's a holiday and a lot of people want to use the lake and they might have family members and whatnot, that they look forward to. So I think I would avoid the holiday weekend if at all possible.
Okay, thank you. Red, I think I saw yours also.
Yeah, normally I like it to be as late as possible, but this year I actually have some shoreline work to be done. So I like the idea of the 15th as a good middle ground between, I think October 1st is too early. And I think the end of October may be too late. So I like October 15th also.
Okay. David Gray?
Yeah, our power's out also. That's why you don't see me. As I recall, John Fitzpatrick was the person who removed dam boards about more than 20 years ago. And he told me that he consistently did it between Columbus weekend and Halloween. So it was mid to late October is what he did. And I think at that time he only removed one board. This is way before, the policy was established. So just for historical records.
Okay.
I can, Conrad, again, I can validate that because when he stopped removing the board, I did. So there were quite a few years when we just took the one board out. That was before we had a lot of these procedures. I think it was also, I don't know when, but yeah, those are about the right dates, David.
Yeah, I know Teresa Schwerin was, Teresa O'Riordan was also active in that whole process of measuring and moving boards.
But no, that's a different time frame. David's talking further back in time.
Okay, well, in there, yep.
Teresa was active in it after we got the first drawdown approved. And pretty much when we got that first drawdown approved, it's about the same time that the town of Stowe Highway Department started doing the boards in and out for us.
Okay. Laura, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, so I don't really care when we do it as long as I know. But I'm just curious, if we have a set date, do we have to do the abutters list? If we publish that it's going to be on a set day every single year, like say October 15th, throwing $700 away to do this abutters thing. And I realize there's a lot of reasons that we have to do that. But if it's a set day every year and consistent, does that still require that?
Yeah, so Laura, there's a little difference here. So the reason we had to do the abutters list this year is because we are getting a new order of conditions. So our current one expires the end of October, I believe, or November 1st, whatever. And so we have to go through the process with the conservation commissions and DEP to get a new one. And that's part of the requirements of getting a new order of conditions. So but what your what you're asking, I think, is also something I'm interested in feedback on. So it's not for the abutters. We don't have to do that at whole abutters mailing, but it would be helpful to understand. It sounds like, you know, we have a general sense of a target, maybe, you know, mid-October to maybe late October. And the thing that seems to be important is advance notice. And so we're not, you know, if we don't lock in a specific date, which I think is challenging anyway for lots of reasons, because you know, there could be weather and all kinds of things that might make that different. But how much notice do folks feel is sort of the minimum? Is it 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks? Or, you know, what feels like the right? So, because that is something we would actually put in, I think, Dan, we would have that in our order of conditions, is sort of the advance portion of notification. Does anyone feel like 2 weeks is too short? Laura?
So are we, I know this is, we're talking about taking the boards out, but also I'm very concerned about putting the boards in. And I don't know if this is part of that discussion, but if it is, I like to put my dock in before the boards go in, because I like it to be low water and not, I don't even care if I do it in April, but before I'm in higher water. And so for that, I'd like 2 or 3 weeks more, the more the better, because I have to get a crew to my house to do that. So I don't know if that's part of this discussion, but I think
Well,
for me,
I would hope that it could be. In fact, I should have thought we really should
Yep.
frame it that way, because both issues are
Relevant.
relevant here.
So
And the
still on your
rule of
side,
thumb,
Laura, you're
the-
thinking 2 weeks is the minimum.
2 weeks is the minimum, probably 3 weeks is more preferred for the spring.
Yeah.
The fall is less of a concern to me, because, yeah, I'm gonna take my dock out after the water's down, not
Right.
when it gets cold.
Conrad?
So the spring, Laura, is kind of determined by ice out. And I don't have the notice in front of me since all these computers are down, but if I remember right, in the spring, we're required to be full by April 1.
Right.
But we put all the boards back in as soon as the ice has left the lake. So as
Yeah.
soon as we declare ice out, the boards go back in. And we don't need notice or anything for that, because it's just the way that the NOI works. I mean, the OCC will work.
Well,
So
why
maybe
can't,
what we want is to have ice out plus 3 weeks.
It won't work.
Yeah, that's to give us enough time.
No,
Why
what I
won't-
mean is
why-
ice out,
why-
if we're going to give 3 weeks notice, we can't give notice until we have ice out. So as soon as we have ice out, then we give notice, and then we have 3 weeks. And then,
Won't work.
why not?
Because we're under the other condition of April 1st refill. And if you wait, if it takes 3 or 4 weeks to refill the lake, you get ice out, you wait 3 weeks before you do anything. And then you got to have another 3 weeks. You're talking 6 weeks better before the lake refills. It's too long. We won't make our April 1st date. We've had ice out. Ice out it can be anywhere from the, early March to last year. I think it was after April 1st when we had ice out. So basically, ice out is a trigger. You get that trigger and you put the boards back.
right, so we could, in fact, we'll get to the NOI, but we could change the NOI because we're busy negotiating this with both towns. We could have the requirement, not that it has to be done by April 1st, but that has to start ice out, and then there's 3 week notification, and then it fills up at whatever pace by whatever date.
That's gonna upset a lot of people, because ice. I mean, getting the lake refilled is actually way more important than draining it. And I don't understand why we need to have notice when all we got to do is tell people, hey, ice out's occurred, the boards are back. That's what we've done for many years. I'm sorry?
I thought people wanted advance notice.
They want
then they'll
notice
be
for
filling up.
drawdown. Dan, not for refill. See, drawdown is
Laura?
important.
Laura?
Go
Conrad,
ahead,
I
Laura.
notice to refill. I'm asking
you'll
for
be happy-
notice to refill. 2
But you
weeks
get
notice.
that. You look out your window and the ice is gone, we'll start to refill. It's kind of a trap, Laura, because if we try to do that, right, you're going to have a situation like this past year where the lake wouldn't have been back up to level till about the middle of May. Because ice out did not occur until what, April, I can't remember the exact date, but it was after April 1st, it was late.
Are you sure?
And I'm depending on
I thought
a
it was
bad
early.
memory, but no, this past year it was late. We've had ice outs that have been very late. We've had ice outs that have been very early. And the trouble is if we get an ice out late, a late one, then what's going to happen is we're not going to be full. We'll be lucky to be full for Memorial Day. I mean, you're talking about if we have a drought and we don't have a good rain season, refill takes longer.
Right.
So
I hear what you're saying, Conrad, but I'm trying to also recognize that giving people some advance notice. Because the lake ice out varies across the lake. I mean, some parts ice out
Not really.
sooner. And there's a point at which we all agree that now is the time that we can.
no, ice out really doesn't vary that much, Dan. It'll go out in basin 2 usually first, and then in basin 2. But when ice out occurs, it's fast, and it happens in most of the lake within a couple days. So if we tell the community that ice out is the trigger point, and everybody knows that, then basically, I don't know. I've been burned by this one. That's why I'm so it's really hard. Refilling the lake is trickier than draining it. When we drain the lake, we know what's going on. When we refill, we do not.
And your point is that it's important that we fill it as fast as possible. As soon as there's ice out, we better put those boards in and fill it up. And there's a problem in delaying that. That's what you're saying.
I am saying that there's a problem in delaying it. Remember that our public launch is not very useful once the lake is all the way down. And we have a lot of people that use that. So refill, there's a million reasons why refill should happen right after ice out. If we had a drought in the spring, we had one year, and I can't, some of these things get fuzzy after a while, but we had one year where we had a springtime with very little rain. If that happens to us, it's going to take a long time to refill. So, and I understand, Laura, that you'd like the notice, but for the most part, I think it's really important to get the lake refilled in the spring. Yeah.
I think Patty's raising her hand.
Yeah, this is Carolyn. I don't know why I'm signing
sorry.
on as Patty.
Okay.
Anyway, the 2 weeks in fall feels fine with me. We always have a sense of when the ice is leaving the lake. So I don't know if we can if the Lake Boon Commission, someone on the commission can send out a message saying, heads up, ice is leaving, and that is the notice. So it's a preemptive announcement.
Yeah.
Patty, this is Conray again. I believe that historically, at least, I don't know, again, memory's fuzzy, but I'm pretty sure when ice has been declared out, we tell everybody.
And I think you're saying that even if we notice a little bit before, it happens, as you're saying, Conrad, in a few days, the moment we think it's going to be happening soon, then LBC sends a notice saying we're going to refill as soon as ice out is done, just so everybody knows.
Yeah.
Are you talking about, when you say ice out, every bit of ice is gone? We can't have a few floaters here and there. Every bit of ice is gone. Is that what ice out means?
Or is it just around the dam?
No,
Is it
we,
really like Boon?
Laura, we
I mean,
never go
the
looking.
first basin.
We never go looking. Basically, when basin 1, 2 are open, we usually declare that as ice out. I won't say there's nothing floating around when we do that, but if there's anything, they're just little pieces where, all the big stuff's gone.
So it's when you say ice out, you mean it's navigable with a boat. You can navigate through.
Pretty much. It's a good definition.
Okay.
Brandon, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. So just in the fall, I like what Lori said about Columbus Day, and I would suggest perhaps it's like within 7 days after Columbus Day, not even put a specific date on it because it moves, but within a week of Columbus Day, you'll start putting the boards in and everybody, or taking them out, sorry. And as Dan has said, it takes a week or two per board to lower. So
Yep.
There's plenty of notice that the lake is going down. I mean, you're going to give it a 2-week notice, say, and then it's not going to drop, overnight. It takes 3 to 4 weeks in total. So that's plenty of time, I would think. And then on the fill, again, I would do the same thing that, approximately 7 days after ice is out, you'll start reinstalling the boards or install both boards, I guess, at the same time. And I mean, it's pretty obvious, as Conray says, when ice is out, and then you're giving them a buffer of 7 days, approximately 7 days, so that there's no discrepancy that ice is out or ice is in. I mean, will be out by that time because you're giving yourself the 7-day buffer. Throw the boards in and let it start filling. And again, it's going to be filled relatively slowly.
Okay.
The problem with refill is you do not know how long it's going to take. It's extremely dependent on a whole bunch of stuff we have no control over. And drawdown affects people big time because you have boats in shallow water and things like that. There's very little effect on any residents. What's the worst thing that happens? The lake goes up a little before you soon, and it doesn't do any damage. Refilling, it doesn't seem to affect people in any real way. It makes it, you got to go in a little bit deeper water to put your dock back in the water. That's about the only thing. Cold water, by the way. So yeah, I'm pretty vehement about, I love the drawdown in the fall. Absolutely. We need, flexible date. After Columbus Day sounds really good. I would make it after Columbus Day and before November 1 at the discretion of LBC. If you want to put it in the NOI, make that tight window. And, our job is to manage the lake. So that's something we should be doing. I hate to say we here, that's something LBC should be doing, because someday it won't be the three of us, it'll be someone else.
Right.
And ice out to put the boards back in. Most people in the lake, once they understand that the boards are going to go back in when they see ice out, they know. And you can see it.
Okay. I think Kathy Safari, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify one thing about the refill. So the current permit that we're operating under, which again, as Dan says, can be changed as we go forward, but within some constraints, says refill of the lake shall be completed by April 1st or earlier if ice out is achieved prior to April 1st. So that's the current permit.
I think you're right on that, as we know you would be, but because if there's ice in the lake and we refill, that ice will damage property. It'll damage a lot of things as it starts to move around. And that's why we've always traditionally waited till the ice was gone.
Right. No, we know that. And there's been years where we weren't able to complete it by April 1st.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, April 1st is an artifact of prior NOIs. I mean, prior permits. for the, all we can really say is that we'll put the boards in as right at ice out. You can't guarantee when it'll be done by.
Yeah,
That's a
I
true
think
statement.
we target best efforts, right, for it to be by April 1, but there can be conditions that prohibit that. And I do think as we look for the next, for the upcoming, the new NOI, and we have some new information to look at from the DEP, we just kind of have to look at, do any of the guidelines that they asked us to review again, affect how we word or what our timeline needs to be for that refill to be completed.
So I'm going to open a can of worms a little bit so all the data is on the table. One of the reasons we do drawdown is to freeze the weeds on the edge of the lake, and hopefully they'll winter kill. But Lee Lyman, who helped us actually establish all this stuff way back when, best practice was actually to refill the lake when things were still frozen, because the rising lake level would pull the weeds out and help kill them. That was always a conflict between, that point of view and the fact that people leave their docks in and the rising ice would actually ruin their docks. So that's, I think, what we came to in the end, where the ice out came and the April 1 came, and we're hoping that we get winter kill and we lose some nutrients in the lake and we empty part of the bathtub. But if you really dig into drawdown, you have this issue about it really should happen. Refill should really happen when the ice is still there. I'm not a proponent of that, but I just thought I should put the data on the table because that's what we went through the first time.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anyone else that feels like they haven't had a chance to sort of say their piece here? Okay, so Dan, do you think we can close
let
out
me
this part?
try to summarize what I've heard. That the ideal time is after Columbus Day, before Halloween. Let's say October 15th to October 30th. That it's somewhat dependent on weather. That in any case, people should know that that's the standard range, but we should give 3 weeks notice before we anticipate what the date is. And, we may not always know all the factors, but at least give 3 weeks notice of when we're going to be targeting. For the refill that will, at ice out, we will send a notice to everybody that we are immediately starting refill and put the boards back in. That the way people know this is going to be happening is that they see their ice, goes away. And so if there's something they immediately need to do, they have the time to do it. Is that a fair summary?
So Dan, the one thing that I heard is that we want a minimum of 2 weeks. I'm not sure we said we necessarily have to have 3 weeks advance notice, but a minimum of 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I like 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, I'd say a minimum of 2 weeks, because that way, obviously, if we can go earlier, that's, if we're clear and all the conditions are such that we know exactly when we're going to do it, we'll get it as quickly as we can. But I think it sounds like we definitely have to attain a minimum of a 2 week notice.
Agreed. And operationally, what'll happen in the future is there'll be a fall LBC meeting probably in September where we'll bring this up and we'll plan for it in a formal LBC meeting, which we didn't do this year because we really didn't. We should have, but we didn't. I'll take responsibility for that. I let that slip. And Chris keeps a very nice calendar now of what happens when. So I'm sure that it'll get in the yearly calendar.
It's already in there. It's been in there. I think what happened was with the MVP and all of this stuff for the new NOI, we were all spread a bit thin. So yes, you are correct, Conray, normally we should definitely have a meeting in September, probably early September, in order to actually make that call, right? So we can define that, so.
Yeah.
We can
So I-
take public input at that point too. In
Yeah,
that meeting.
if necessary, yep.
Yep. So I'm going to say that for this, what we just summarized, we won't make a motion right now for this because it actually is part of the discussion around the NOI,
Yep.
and we should do a moment's transition to that.
Yes.
I'll just mention that what we're trying to do with the order of conditions for the drawdown for the future is we're going over this with both the Stowe Conservation Commission and the Hudson, trying to have one document that is the same for both. We had a meeting about that in, at Stowe yesterday or whenever it was.
Today, yep.
And then we have the one in Hudson coming up next week. And then hopefully at the end of that, we'll all agree on this. The open piece that they wanted the input that we got tonight was on the target date. And I think we now have clarity on that.
Well said.
Yes, very well.
Okay.
Nice wrap up there, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to close out that aspect of our agenda and move on to a very sort of the next piece, which it really is LBC, kind of us as a threesome, talking a bit about where we stand with the NOI, if there's any decisions or whatnot that we have either now or prior to going to the Hudson Concom or any other things in that space. So since we really can't deliberate about that when we're in the Concom meetings, this is our opportunity to kind of talk through if there's anything that we've heard at either of those commission meetings that we feel strongly we need to address in the NOI or anything else in that space.
Okay. Would you like me to kind of summarize where we are with that?
Yeah, sure.
I think I sent out to each of you the very latest version. It's kind of bounced back and forth, and each time we try to mark in yellow what are the outstanding issues. So one of them that still is frankly outstanding is whether the permit is for 3 years renewable every 3 years or for 5. Stowe prefers 5 and Hudson prefers 3. The question is, how often do we have to come in and repeat this process? It's sort of an automatic extension. The reality is we have to come in every year anyway with our annual report, so that each town does get a chance to express its opinion. The Conservation Commission review that. We'll do that every year anyway. So personally, I would prefer the 5 years, but this is back and forth between the two towns right now.
Yeah. So Dan, I don't think this is a point of actually making motion or whatever, but I just want to express, I also believe if it's possible, let's get the 5 year. So I would like Conray's perspective, because then we can represent at the, at the Hudson meeting that it is, whatever the preference is of the commission.
So my opinion is the longer the better. If we need to do a compromise, there's an average between 3 and 5 or 4. But
Or we could do the
I
sum of them.
support
3
5.
plus 5 is 8.
Yeah, divided by 2 is what? And anyway, yeah, no, I support 5 years big time, because you guys are all going through this year, and boy, I'll tell you, this is not fun to do. So the least often, the less we have to do with this, the better I feel. It's just like, why put people through this when at the end of the day, what we're going to do is what we've been doing. It's just all this stuff we got to go through to get back to where we really were.
Yeah.
You know the result. We're going to do drawdown. It's not going to stop. It's just a matter of getting all this paperwork done some number of years. So the question I might have, Dan, and you might know the answer to this, is how many extensions can we have? Or Kathy might know that if she's still on.
Actually, it says 1 or more periods. So there's no limit articulated in here. But Kathy, is that correct?
Dan's correct. There can be any number of extensions. Usually the commission looks to questions like, Have conditions changed? Have the regulations changed? Is there any reason not to extend? But normally we wouldn't put somebody through this whole process just to get a new permit. You know, it is DEP that has required this filing this year.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay.
All right,
So
so I
on to-
think we have a preference from the commission on the
Yep.
5-year. Okay.
Great,
Go ahead.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes.
The next point that has come up is when the water, when we do a drawdown and the refill, we need to do some measurements of turbidity and phosphorus, essentially trying to understand what is going out of the lake into the Assabet. Part of sort of a broader ecological view. Now, in fact, we're going to do more measurements than just that as part of the MVP grant and ongoing into the future. And one question came up whether it's better to measure the deepest part of the lake, which the experts in that kind of measure were saying that, you know, in the first basin, the deepest part is a better place. But on the other hand, for the purposes of this, the goal is to measure what's going out into the Assabet. So both Hudson and Stowe prefer to keep it at the lake outlet structure. It doesn't preclude deeper, but that's the result of that.
I support the outlet structure, and Kirk might want to comment here, but Lake Boone, Basin 1, 22 feet is the maximum depth. Basin 2, it's about 10 feet. And when you go to what's called Basin 3 or 4, or whatever you want to call it, it's really 4 feet. So we don't have the stratification of the water column that, you know, 100-foot deep lake, 100-foot deep lake would have. So I don't think that it makes a big difference at Lake Boone. And it's sure a lot easier to do it at the dam.
Yeah.
I see Kirk is here. Chris, do you mind if we ask Kirk to
Oh,
comment?
go right ahead. If he has.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
We can, Kirk.
We got power back on finally. A good thing.
Good.
Yeah, I think, Conway, to answer your question, to measure the actual impact on the Assabet, it makes sense to measure it at the outlet. That concentration can be converted with the flow to the actual mass flow to phosphorus into the river. But for the overall health of the lake, I think as we were looking at it this summer, we did see some stratification, some thermal stratification and dissolved oxygen stratification in the deep part of Basin 1. We saw the temperature go way down at the 21-foot level, and oxygen levels really get depleted at the bottom of the lake. And so for the health of the lake, there's some interest in measuring the phosphorus in the water column at that deep location, because it may be indicative of what's coming out of the sediment and affecting the overall mass balance in the lake. So that's for the health of the lake itself, but for the actual load into the Assabet, measuring it at the dam makes perfect sense.
Excellent. Thank you. So I'm certainly also in favor of at the outlet, based on feedback from both Concom. So I think we'll try to move that one forward.
The next one had to do with the wells running dry. And now that we've been through the whole process, and thank everyone who was part of that, you know, the battles and things that happened a few years ago that, you know, we got resolved. Now we are only bringing it down 14 inches. We've been doing that for many years. That has not led to any wells going dry. So the need for us to retain, or LBA, to retain an escrow of $10,000 is no longer there. We all agree on that. But there is still a clause in here that if one of the boards of health, if there is some kind of, you know, during a drawdown, somebody says, hey, my well's gone dry, and the Board of Health indicates that it's likely caused by the drawdown, then we immediately put another board back in and allow for, you know, a further analysis of what might be going on there. Okay.
If you're looking for comments, the first thing you said is the most important to me, and that we've been doing this for a long time now, and we really haven't had any well issues. So maybe we don't need it in there at all.
Well, the both Stowe and Hudson Conservation Commissions did want it in there. They wanted to make sure there was no financial liability that we suddenly had to pay for replacing a well or anything, but rather that we have in here the possibility of, if the Board of Health indicates it is related to the drawdown, well, then we need to know that and act on it.
Yeah, and I thought they also made the comment that it was really, you really don't need it, period, for those same issues around liability.
Don't need what, the clause?
Yeah, the well clause at all.
I thought I heard that they wanted this clause, but they removed the liability question. For example, potable water or well repair, or even the analysis of what caused the lake. Whether the financial obligation was removed.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought some with Kathy, you can help me if you want, but I thought in the meeting the other night that the chair of Stowe Concom suggested that we didn't need it, but I might be wrong.
No, I think the commission had agreed that they wanted something kept in the unlikely but possible, the remote chance that something did happen with a well, especially in a drought year.
Okay.
Okay, and Dan, looking at your your revised wording on that in general, that looks good to me. So I think that accurately represented the feedback that we got from Stowe.
Okay. The next one, point number 5, we've already discussed, and that's what the preferred start date is. And this, I will now have it reflect what we already just decided today about the drawdown start date and the refill. Then there was a discussion about emergency response. Let's say that a hurricane or large storm is coming and we want to lower the lake just because there'll be a lot of rain. We need to avert things, and with climate change, that and increased storms may be a reality. There was a clause in here that said that if such a thing happens, the LBC can decide to do this. But the discussion from both towns was, actually, that doesn't belong in this drawdown document. That's a separate decision by the Board of Health or the Highway Department. They can act independently to act on it. And it really, as Kathy noted, calls to the question that, what kind of emergency plan do either towns have for such a thing? And that this clause should be removed because it really belongs elsewhere, not part of this document. And I think, Conrad, when we first brought this up, you were making the same point, and now they're concurring with that.
Yeah, I support removing it. The reality is, let's just say we know we're going to get hit with a huge rainstorm. I don't know if you guys remember it, but Vermont got 11 inches in 3 hours not too long ago. And, if we think something's going to happen like that, LBC, we'll run the red flag up and get someone to pull those boards out. I mean, we're still the single state entity that is chartered to take care of the lake. So we've still got that charter. So as far as I'm concerned, I take it out, and we'll just do what we've always done, or what the commission's always done. Watch the weather. If something's going to happen, raise the red flag, and we'll get it done.
Right.
By whoever's supposed to say yes.
And the Stowe Concom said that made sense, and I'm going to bring that up with Hudson Comcom next week about removing that clause.
Yep, and that feels right, because as you said, Dan, and I think what we heard from Stowe Concom is that it's not related to the drawdown. These are all conditions of doing the drawdown. It's not everything related to the level of the lake. It's for the drawdown and the refill. And this is a clause that probably seemed to make sense at that point, but it feels right to be removing that. So I'm also good with that.
And the last one is actually a continuation of the one we said earlier, that about financial liability. There was in the previous report requirements for the annual report which is now going to get embedded in a comprehensive report. But it used to ask for steps taken to provide temporary potable water, but we're crossing off that. The Stowe Concom said we should cross that off because we're no longer financially responsible for the potable water, fixing a well, because we've already established the drawdown has not over years caused the wells going dry. Okay.
Yep.
And that's it.
Excellent. So one thing I just wanted to let folks know is that you all got notice via the mail about the opening of hearings, both public hearings, both in the Stowe Concom and also in the Hudson Concom, depending on your residency. Those, as Dan mentioned, have been continued. So we've had already 2 sessions with Stowe, and hopefully the last one, but maybe not. But it's continued now until, what's the date for?
20th. 20th?
20th, right. So the
20th.
Stowe. So if folks have further interest in a kind of understanding or inputting to the order of conditions on the Stowe side, you should join the 10:20 meeting for that. That would be the Stowe Conservation Commission, and our second meeting with Hudson, which again is a continuation of the first that you got notice on, is on the 15th. Correct, Dan?
I don't know. Let me just make
Thursday,
sure.
the 15th.
Maybe you're right about that.
I think it's Thursday, the 15th.
It is.
Yes. So on the Hudson side, if you want to be further involved as we work through with the conservation commissions on this new order of conditions that would go in, we would be looking to put into effect for at least the next 3 years, hopefully 5. Those would be your 2 next opportunities.
Hey, Chris, my computer is going to die in about 6 minutes.
Okay. All right, let's see if we can rip through things here. So it'll be okay to, we done with that one then?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Thank you.
Yep. So, all right, so buoys and boat removal. So Conrad, do you have a date or kind of when you expect to pull the boat out, or do you need help with pulling the boat out?
Let me just tell you a couple things, and then we can table this for a while. I typically like to get those buoys out once the lake is down,
Okay.
or when I know it's going to get cold. But our boat's broken at the moment, and I haven't had time to figure out why. I believe it's a gas filter or a gas pump, but I'm not sure. So the LPC boat will run for about 5 minutes, and then it becomes unreliable. So typically what I would suggest right now is let me see what's wrong with the boat. I'll get that done next week, and then we'll get the buoys out after drawdown is complete. Is that okay?
We can certainly table it till our next meeting anyway. I did reach out to see if JT would be willing to use his pontoon boat. Last year, David Gray and Ellen and I and JT and David Gray's grandson did it last year, and that was no problem. So we can talk through that, Conrad.
Yeah, that'll be good. And I'm pretty sure Hudson will star the boat for us. I'd like to put some of the buoys at your house and some of them at my house, if that works. Put the ones in Basin 1 at your house, put the ones in Basin 2 at my house. That way we don't have to move them as far.
Yeah, that doesn't, I don't think that would be any issue. Okay, so that's kind of where we stand. We'll hold off on that. And then the last thing, which I think is just for us to be aware of, I did check back in with the proposals from Hudson around where things stood with our warrant article in Hudson for an amended budget for FY21 for the LBC budget, and that was because of the fact that we found out, this summer essentially, that the expectation had been that Hudson would budget for a third of the patrol budget. The patrol budget is $5,000 a year, and we didn't know that, or somehow we lost track of that. So that is an active article, warrant article, and their town meeting is, let's see, when is the town meeting? Town meeting is on the 16th. So that will go before the town, and Tom, their town administrator, is in support of it. So hopefully that will go through fine there. We may have lost Conray.
No, I'm still here, audio.
Okay. All right. Fine. Do you think you'll be able to stay on audio till we close the meeting, or are you likely to have a problem with
I'm
that?
going to try.
Okay.
I get red lights flashing on the bottom of the computer saying I'm going to shut down at any minute.
Okay. So, well, Conray, if you do drop, are you okay if we continue and finish out the meeting?
We're done with all the issues, so
We are
yes.
done with all the posted things. It would just be any old business or new business, and we can hold
I
off on
might
the next
suggest
meeting.
that we jump to when the next meeting is, because that is something Conrad needs to be here for. Can we do that first in case he drops out?
Sure, but we can also do that one offline.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll just kind of finish up our other stuff. So
Okay.
the other few things I had on old business, so the registration and license for the trailer, I followed up again with the Selectman's office, and she said that was in the hands of our insurance agent, so she was following up. She would follow up on that. So I will ping her again in probably next week, and hopefully we'll have that, Conray, so that it can get on to the trailer before you have to transport it again.
You mean I don't have to transfer it without a plate this year?
We'll hope not. I'm not guaranteeing that, because I've yet to see the tag. So so I wanted to just put that up there. And so we already talked about the budget stuff. So I think that was the only other thing in old business that I wanted to raise. Dan or Conry, do you have anything else you want to come back to? From
I do
old
not.
business?
Conway does not.
Okay. And Dan, nothing?
No.
Okay, excellent. So new business. So anything new that maybe we haven't thought about that we'll need to target, or definitely want to target for a next meeting? I know obviously we'll be finalizing the NOI at some point here.
Yeah, and the MVP, I'm sure we'll have
Okay,
more
yep.
topics for that. Those are the two
Yep.
that I want to make sure we cover.
Okay, and then we'll obviously circle back on the kind of the winterizing our buoys and our boat at that point. Okay, all right. Okay, so date of next meeting, just even timing. Are we looking out at the end of the month, beginning of November? What do folks, what do we feel?
Well,
is
from the perspective of the MVP, it would help if we had another meeting sometime this month. Maybe it's,
sometime the last week?
the last week, yeah.
Okay,
28th
28th is a Wednesday.
Yep.
works for me.
I think it
Works for
works for me. We'll target that, and I will take a look and see if there's any other complicating things. But I think it looks like we'll be all
And
right.
I think we said that Wednesday does not conflict with other town meetings. I know Laura raised
Yeah.
that issue before.
Yeah. So I tend to take a look at the calendar before we finalize. So we'll target that, and if I see anything on the calendar that looks problematic, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
All right. So I think we are Done.
I move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All righty. Any seconds?
Second,
All right. And all in favor?
Aye.
Conway, aye.
Aye. All right. So 8:16 and we are done. So thank you all. We made it through there faster than I thought.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks
Thanks.
for all the input.